One carrier, 3 destroyers, and 50 inbound threats, all at the same time. Iran didn't just fire a missile, they launched a coordinated ambush, drones, speedboats, anti-ship missiles, and ballistic warheads, designed to overwhelm every single layer of U.S. naval defense simultaneously. They thought they had it figured out. They didn't know about the fourth ship. It's 6:19 a.m. local time. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear-powered billion-dollar aircraft carrier, is conducting strike operations against Iranian targets when a single report changes everything. The E-2D Hawkeye, orbiting 25,000 feet above the strike group, detects it first. 4 ballistic missile tracks, already climbing. Dozens of low-altitude contacts pushing south through the coastal haze. The Lincoln's escort destroyers have seconds to react, not minutes, seconds. And here's the thing most people don't understand about a carrier strike group. The carrier itself doesn't fight back. She doesn't have to, because the destroyers around her, that's where the fight actually happens. And today, those destroyers are about to earn every dollar the Navy ever spent on them. On the USS Spruance, the spy radar lights up. 30 contacts, low altitude, slow, barely 100 knots. 90 miles east, the USS Michael Murphy sees 28. The tactical action officer on the Spruance, the one officer responsible for every weapon on the ship, classifies the threat in 4 seconds flat. One-way attack drones, the cheap Iranian kind, each one worth less than a used pickup truck. Each one carrying enough explosive to gut an engine room or shred a radar antenna. He doesn't hesitate. General quarters, all hands man your battle stations. Every watertight hatch slams shut. Sailors sprint through passageways. The MH-60R helicopter claws off the flight deck, banks east toward its picket station. Hellfire's on the rails, door gunner already scanning. On the signal bridge, 2 sailors deploy the DRFM jammer, a system that broadcasts a fake version of the ship miles from where it actually is. Think of it like this. Someone sends a hitman to your address, but you secretly swapped your house number with the neighbor you've never liked. He shows up at the wrong door. You watch from your window. That's what this box does, electronically. But there are 30 of them inbound, and the jammer can't fool all of them. At 9 miles, the Mk-45 5-inch gun swings to the drone bearing and opens fire. 70-pound shells, variable time fuses. The expanding fragmentation ring tears drones apart from 30 meters out. No direct hit required, just close enough. First burst drops 2 drones. A third absorbs fragments, loses 1 engine, keeps flying on the other. The autoloader cycles, 20 rounds per minute. The crew can feel the rhythm through their boots. Lock, break, slew, reacquire. 3 seconds per cycle. 30 contacts, then 24, then 21. 90 miles east, the Murphy is running the same drill. Her 5-inch gun working north. The .50 caliber crews picking off anything the big gun can't reach. This is working. The system is working. Then things get serious. The junior officer of the deck on the Spruance breaks the rhythm. Surface contacts bearing 085. Fast movers, 40 knots, inbound. IRGC fast attack craft. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps speedboats, screaming in from the east. Some rigged as one-way attack vessels, bows packed with enough explosive to punch through a destroyer's hull on contact. Here's the problem. The 5-inch gun is pointed north at 21 drones still inbound. The boats are coming from the east. 1 main battery, 2 threat axes. No version of this math that works out cleanly. The captain calls it immediately. The Spruance heels hard to port at flank speed, throwing a wall of white water off the stern. It doesn't sink 50-foot boats, but it breaks their formation. A coordinated wolf pack can overwhelm a ship. The same boats attacking one at a time. That's just target practice. Breaking their formation buys time. Time is the only currency this crew has left. The Mk-38 stabilized 25mm cannon swings east. The ship is rolling 15 degrees and still puts rounds on the lead boat at 2,500 meters, walking tracers across the water until the engine housing detonates. The MH-60R handles the second. 1 Hellfire. Clean. Decisive. 7 missiles remaining. The remaining boats scatter and regroup. 90 miles east, the Murphy gets the same call. 30 seconds later. 8 fast attack craft, bearing 270, coming out of shallow coastal water to the west. Murphy's TAO has 16 drones still inbound from the north, and 8 boats closing from the west. His 5-inch gun can point in exactly one direction. He swings it west, toward the boats, because a vessel packed with several thousand pounds of explosives is the more dangerous target. He accepts the risk on the north bearing, puts the Mk-38 and the .50 calibers on the drones, while the 5-inch handles the watercraft. It's not a clean solution. There is no clean solution. He makes the call and lives with it. 3 minutes to suppress the boats. When it's done, 9 drones are still inbound on the Murphy. All optical guidance, all still flying. The 5-inch swings north again. On the Spruance, 8 drones remain. Close enough now that the system hands them off automatically. The Phalanx takes over. 20mm, 4,000 rounds per minute, fully autonomous. No human in the loop at this range. No time for it. If R2-D2 had an older brother who skipped the charm school and went straight to anger management, this is what he'd look like. A white dome on the deck that spins toward anything it doesn't recognize and removes it from the sky. It sees a contact, classifies it, and fires. No hesitation. No second guessing. The remaining drones enter its engagement envelope and cease to exist. For approximately 4 seconds, both crews breathe. Then both operators shatter the silence simultaneously. Vampire, vampire, vampire. Here's what Iran actually planned. A shore-based anti-ship missile battery on the Mach coast had been building a passive targeting solution for 45 minutes, watching, not transmitting, accumulating bearing and speed data on both destroyers without ever radiating long enough to attract attention. It sat in the dark, listening to the ship's own emissions, piecing together their speed and heading the way a poker player reads, tells without ever showing his own cards. And it picked this moment deliberately. Both ships had just burned precious minutes fighting drones and speedboats, their magazines partially depleted, their operators fatigued, every weapon system pointed in the wrong direction. Because the drones and the boats, they were never meant to sink anything. They were the opening act, designed to drain ammunition, exhaust operators, and set up what's coming next. The Noor anti-ship missiles, Iran's domestically refined version of the Chinese C-802, launch from the coast, sea skimming at 5 meters altitude. Inside each nose cone, an active radar seeker hunts for the destroyers. 165 kilograms of warhead per missile, 4 of them, already off the rails before the TAO can fully process the EU alert. Wave top altitude, closing at just under the speed of sound. From the northwest, the one bearing neither ship had been focused on. The geometry is deliberate. The battery fired at the exact moment when both ships had maximum distraction and minimum reaction time. The Spruance still has 9 drones on the outer engagement envelope. The Murphy has 7. Neither TAO can simply ignore one problem and solve the other. They have to manage both, simultaneously, with whatever is left in the magazine. And while all of this is happening, a third crisis nobody in either CIC can touch is quietly counting down. 4 ballistic warheads, tracked by the Hawkeye since 0619, are now 12 minutes from the Lincoln. Mach 5, accelerating into terminal phase. Neither destroyer can do anything about them. That hasn't changed. That's someone else's job. The Spruance TAO keys the vertical launch system for the first time all morning. 3 SM-2s punch out of the forward cells, leaving contrails at 45 degrees off the deck. The SPG-62 fire control illuminators, the radar beams that guide SM-2s in their terminal phase, slew northwest and begin time-sharing the 4 inbound Noors. This is where the physics get brutal. An SM-2 flies blind in its final seconds. It needs the ship to hold a radar beam on the target, like a flashlight moving a bird, so a second person can shoot it. The Spruance has 3 illuminators for 4 inbound missiles. Every time she switches between targets, each missile goes blind for 400 meters. 400 meters of unguided flight at near supersonic speed. That's where the math gets tight. Chaff rockets off the launcher, broadcasting radar signatures larger than the ship itself, the nautical equivalent of setting off every car alarm on your block to draw attention away from your front door. The ship heels hard to starboard at flank speed, presenting the smallest possible radar cross-section to the incoming seekers. First Noor, intercepted at 11 miles, a flash on the northwest horizon. Illuminator slews to the next track. Second, 8 miles out. Third and fourth, 2 miles after that. None reach the Spruance. She's intact. On the Murphy, the geometry is uglier. 3 SM-2s for 3 inbound Noors. But her illuminators are time-sharing, and one of them loses its track when the Murphy maneuvers hard to avoid a near miss. 2 more SM-2s leave the rails. Both connect at 6 miles out. The Murphy is intact. Iran fired a coordinated 4-wave ambush. Drones, boats, anti-ship missiles. This is where the Navy changes the game. The Frank Peterson Jr. is the strike group's dedicated ballistic missile defense destroyer. Her CIC had been library quiet since 0619, not because her crew wasn't working, but because they have exactly one job: And it hadn't arrived yet. She carries SM-3 missiles, not SM-2s, not SM-6s, SM-3s, exo-atmospheric interceptors that leave Earth's atmosphere entirely to intercept ballistic warheads at the top of their arc. Think about what that means. You're not shooting down a missile. You're launching a kinetic impactor the size of a carry-on bag into the exosphere, above the weather, above the air, above everything, and asking it to hit a re-entry vehicle the size of a refrigerator traveling at Mach 10, using nothing but closing geometry and a seeker that has to solve a calculus problem in real time that would take a human mathematician years. Miss by 1 meter. The warhead hits the Lincoln. The Peterson's TAO had been building intercept solutions since the ballistic tracks first appeared. 4 tracks, 4 SM-3s. He's been waiting for the geometry to solve cleanly. On the Lincoln's flight deck, the catapult officer steps back from a Super Hornet sitting on the cat with both engines at military power. An SM-3 intercept at altitude doesn't distinguish between an Iranian warhead and a fully fueled American fighter jet. The deck goes cold. Every aircraft stops. The busiest flight deck in the 5th Fleet goes silent and watches smoke rising from a destroyer 5 miles to the north. 5 SM-3s leave the Peterson cells in 5 seconds. The rockets burn through the atmosphere. The intercept vehicles separate in the exosphere, above the weather, above the air, above everything, steered by seekers that solve the geometry in real time while both objects close at combined speeds that don't allow for second attempts. 3 clean impacts, rapid sequence. 3 red tracks stop updating in CIC. The room exhales. Then the 4th track does something wrong. At 70,000 feet, the radar return separates. One object decelerating hard, the signature of a decoy releasing and deliberately shedding velocity. The other holding full terminal speed. One of them has somewhere to be. One of them doesn't. The SM-3 assigned to that track was built for exactly this. Its intercept vehicle reacquires the faster object, the one that isn't slowing down, and adjusts. Not by much, by enough. Impact. The re-entry vehicle comes apart above the atmosphere. Debris burns on re-entry. 4 of 4 intercepted. The Lincoln's flight deck comes alive again. And now, it's their turn. The Hawkeye had the ballistic launch coordinates since 0619, from the moment those motors lit. Valley floor, grid reference, bearing lock. Iran just entered their find-out phase. 2 FA-18F Super Hornets from VFA-41 Black Aces launch off the Lincoln's waist catapults. The 18G Growler from VAQ-133 launches behind them, not carrying bombs, carrying something more dangerous. The ALQ-249 next-generation jammer. This system doesn't shoot anything. It transmits, flooding Iranian radar frequencies with enough interference that any coastal air defense operator still sitting at a scope sees what looks like an equipment malfunction. Not 2 Super Hornets flying north at low altitude into his country. The package pushes into Iranian airspace and climbs. In the back seat of the lead Hornet, the weapons system officer sweeps the coastal highway east of Jask with the ATFL-IR targeting pod, the advanced targeting forward-looking infrared system. It resolves individual vehicles at ranges that would embarrass a reconnaissance satellite through a field of view roughly the size of a toilet paper tube. Cargo trucks, fuel haulers, civilian buses, and somewhere in that southbound flow, TELs, transporter erector launchers, the heavy military trucks that carry and fire ballistic missiles, running for the blast doors at 35 kilometers per hour. Behind those doors, reload racks, fresh Shahab 3s, the ability to do all of this again tomorrow. That cannot happen. First thermal bloom at 16 miles, residual heat seeping through a truck chassis from a solid rocket motor that fired less than an hour ago, still cooking through the frame. The Wizzo slews south, another bloom, 2 more, staggered in the southbound lane, already slowing for the turnoff that leads to the tunnel approach road. Dealer 1-1, fuel state 7.2, 7,200 pounds. 22 minutes to fly home, 18 minutes usable over target. The TELs reach the tunnel mouth in 4. Then, in the pilot's peripheral, a shape moves in the tree line on the south hillside. An infrared bloom climbs off the slope. A man-pad's crew. Man-portable air defense system. 1 soldier. 1 shoulder-fired heat-seeking missile. 0 radar warning. 0 launch indication. Nothing. Until a bright point rises off the ground toward your exhaust nozzle. The wingman calls it 2 seconds after ignition. Brake right. Defending. Flares dump in sequence. The missile chases one into the hillside. The wingman pulls off target, nose high, losing both airspeed and attack position. And it costs him 90 seconds he doesn't have. By the time he rolls wings level and reacquires the highway, The front pair of TELs has covered another 200 meters toward the tunnel entrance. The lead checks 4 things in the same second. Fuel state, 15 minutes usable and dropping. A FLIR showing the front TEL 100 meters from the entrance road turn. Wingman still climbing back to attack altitude. 60 seconds minimum before he can re-enter the fight. And a second IR bloom moving south through the tree line. A different MANPADS crew repositioning along the ridge to cut off the exact attack angle the lead just flew through. 2 MANPADS crews in the trees. 1 aircraft in position to make a pass. 60 seconds before the wingman is back. 90 seconds before those trucks are inside blast doors that won't reopen until the next launch order. Dealer 1-2, back in 60. The lead doesn't answer. He's already rolling in. The front 2 TELs fill the ATFLIR crosshairs. Ground crew on infrared, scrambling, disconnecting umbilicals. 1 figure already sprinting for the tree line on a vector that makes it clear he's made a very accurate assessment of his immediate future if he stayed put. The lead pickles. 2 GBU-38s drop off the rails. The jet jumps with the weight loss. Guidance fins snap open. GPS steered, 500 pounds per bomb, toward trucks that are still moving when the weapons arrive. Both detonate within the same second. The valley floor comes apart. Secondary fires climb from ruptured fuel systems. The wingman is already in his roll-in. 2 more GBU-38s. Clean releases. The ATFLIR captures the tunnel entrance in frame. Open. Blast doors retracted. Empty of everything that was supposed to drive through them. The package turns south. Fuel gauges touching amber. The Growler holds its jamming orbit for another 90 seconds, then peels away. ALQ-249 transmitting until the aircraft are feet wet over the Gulf and there's nothing left worth jamming. Let's count what just happened. Iran launched a layered ambush, coordinated across 5 simultaneous threat types, against a U.S. carrier strike group. Drones, fast boats, anti-ship missiles, ballistic warheads with decoys, ground-based MANPADS. They didn't score a single hit. The Spruance handled it. The Murphy handled it. The Peterson handled what neither of them could touch. And 2 Super Hornets, burning their last usable fuel, made sure Iran couldn't reload and try again. This is what a U.S. carrier strike group actually is. Not just a ship, not just a crew. A layered system of overlapping capabilities, each one designed to hand off to the next before any single threat can slip through. Radar to guns to missiles to interceptors to strike aircraft, and every layer slightly stronger than the one before it. Iran picked a fight with the wrong ship. Actually, they picked a fight with the wrong fleet. And with directed energy weapons, AI-enabled targeting, and next-generation interceptors now entering the fleet, the layers are only getting deeper. Which system surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to see what happens when the US takes the gloves off completely, watch our video on Operation Epic Fury, link on screen.